We are now on lesson 611, nearing the end of our unit 6, and today we are talking about equivalent equations, and our goal is to be able to write and solve equations. So before we even jump into it, just to review, an equation, and we talked about this in the last lesson, is going to have an equal sign. Let's begin by looking at page 240 in your math journal. Looking at the top, it's asking you to solve the following equations. It's giving us an example, 3x plus 5 equals 14, and then it's kind of walking you through what to do. Now, since you have an example to look at, we're actually going to try a new one together. We're going to go ahead and look at number 1. Number 1. And our original equation, which is what you should write on the line that says original equation, is 11y minus 4 equals 9y. And our variable in this case would be y, and what we're doing is trying to figure out if it's true as well. So, or actually, and what we can solve it for. So what we're going to do first is show how to kind of get that y to be separate. So to do that, what I know that I can do is I have 9y on this side, 11y on this side, and I want to get my variables all together on only one side of my equation. So I'm going to write down underneath operation, subtract 11y. That's what the S stands for. Subtract 11y. If I did that, my new equation would be, try to use a different color pen here, negative 4, that stays the same, equals, now I had 9y minus 11y, that's what I said I was going to do, negative 2y. Now, that's what my equation is at present. I still need to do a little bit more here. I haven't quite solved it for y. I've narrowed it down, but I need to solve just for y. So now what I'm going to do is divide, so I have a d, by negative 2. That means I'm doing it on both sides, just like I did with my first subtracting 11y. So if I divide by negative 2, we'll have divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. If I do something on one side of an equation, I have to do it on the other. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 would be 2. Negative 2y divided by negative 2 would just be a positive 1y, and I can just write that as y. So that's what I should have written down now. Now at the bottom where it says check, you need to write what it would be if you put your variable up into the equation, the original equation. So 11 times 2, 11y would now be 11 times 2, would be 22. Still subtracting 4, no variable there, equals 9 now times 2, which would be 18. And 22 minus 4 does equal 18, so I'm also going to write next to it, after putting my semicolon there, that this is true. All right, let's also try number 2 together on this page. We're on page 240 still. So our original equation, which is what you should be writing on that first line, you're just writing the equation over, is 16t plus 7 equals 19t plus 10. And now again, we have the spot where it asks us to show our operation and then show what our equation looks like. So I'm going to draw out those few lines for us just so we have them ready. It looks kind of similar to your math journal, hopefully. And then at the bottom we have our place to check. Okay, so we rewrote our original equation. Now we need to start doing some operations here. Now really, I could start this a couple different ways. I'm going to start with the variable. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 19t, which means from my original, I'm going to subtract that 19t, subtract 19t. So now my equation would look like this. Negative 3t, because 16 minus 19 is negative 3, and there's a t, plus 7 equals, this cancels out, positive 10. And I know that it's positive. You can put a little positive sign there to help you if you want. You certainly don't have to. Okay, the next operation I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 7 because I want to get my variable all by itself over here. So subtract 7. I'm not touching the negative 3t at all. So I need to do this on both sides. Subtract 7, that cancels out. Subtract 7. So now I have negative 3t equals positive 3. Now finally, I need to divide by negative 3, and I need to do that on both sides. Dividing by negative 3 will split up my variable here. So divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3. I now have positive 1t, and if it's a 1, I can just write t. If it were a negative 1t, I would need to put a negative sign there. T equals 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. Now to check my work, I need to put this into my original equation. 16 times negative 1 would be negative 16 plus 7. That doesn't change. Then we have 19t. 19 times negative 1 would be negative 19 plus 10. So now I have to determine, is negative 16 plus 7 equivalent to negative 19 plus 10? And in this case, it is true. All right, you will need to finish this page on your own with numbers 3, 4, and 5. Your assignment today is to complete Math Journal pages 239, which is your math box, 240, which we started together, and page 241. You do not need to do the try this, so I'm going to write try this and then go ahead and show you not to do that. Then our IXL will be Z2 and Z7. The difference between those is that with Z2 you're looking for X, and if it or which X satisfies an equation. On Z7 you're working on an equation, you have some fractions and mixed numbers and decimals thrown into that as well.